Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of Digital Painting Art Show. My name is Jesus Conde and today we're going to be doing a cupcake. We're going to be doing the basic coloring, reflections, all the stuff, so let's get started. Okay, so the first step is really easy. Basically what we're going to do is just take the colors from the color palette and we're just going to feel the different flavors and stuff, like the cream, the chocolate and all the stuff. We're using plain colors. We're not doing any kind of shading at the moment. Right now what I'm doing is just cleaning up a little bit the quality of my basic coloring. You need to be perfect as possible on the inside. On the outside doesn't matter too much, so let's concentrate on that. Okay, so I'm going to explain you what brush I'm using on the tutorial. So the first one is just a round brush and it has opacity on the pen pressure. This means that here in the other dynamics it's activated the pen pressure, and if you using a new Photoshop you got it on the transfer section. The second brush that I'm using is a really soft one, which gives this result. But the difference is that it also have the other dynamics on and the pen pressure, but what you get is this soft, kind of like soft texture. The third brush, I'm going to create it so you can see how it works. Is the same brush. You can get the same brush at the beginning, deactivate this so you have a hard brush, and now you go to shape dynamics and you get the pen pressure but in the size. And this what happens is that you get a tiny tip when you're using soft pressure, and when you're using a lot of pressure you get a thick line. And in the brush tip shape, what I'm going to do is change the roundness so it looks like an oval shape. So when you're doing vertical lines look thicker, and when you do horizontal it doesn't look that thick. So these are the three brushes that I'm using in this tutorial. Okay, so a cool way to get the darker colors in your palette is just to select the colors that you want darker with the selection tool, and then go to image adjustments and brightness and contrast and just get some brightness off. And this way you can get a dark color, nice dark color. Okay, so now we're going to use the soft brush for some shadows. We need to know where the light is coming from. In this case it's coming from the top right corner of the screen, and so the shadows are going to be on the left side. I'm using a new layer, of course, and it's important that you use a new layer because if you make a mistake you can repair it really quick. And what I'm doing is just putting a little bit of that shadow color on the left side, and then I'm going to just erase what's bleeding to the other colors. On the cream, we're not using white and gray. If you can see, it has a little bit of color, and you don't want it to be too dark because the cream is something really reflective and soft material, so you got to make it like that. And here in the chocolate part, in the cake part, let's do shadows like if it was ambient occlusion shadows. Then you got the lower part, which kind of the light actually is kind of weird in that part because it bounces a lot, and in the chocolate is more like solid. Even that is, is reflecting all and everything is more like solid colors. And here in the cherry part, let's start with a soft shadow because this is a really complex material that I'm going to talk about later. Okay, so for this part I thought it was easier to show you first and then explain you, because it's kind of tricky to get the motion of the hand to do this kind of detail that I'm going to do. This part is really easy. I'm not talking about this part, I'm talking about the part that comes next. It's going to be kind of difficult to explain by just talking to you, so I'm going to explain in a few seconds. But you gotta concentrate on the shadows and the texture at the same time, because the complexity of the material. Notice that I'm doing little kind of like random shapes with the brush. I'm going to explain you in a few seconds how the hell I'm doing this the best I can. And yeah, it's kind of tricky, but once you get the motion of the hand, like you got a lot of practice with the movement of the hand, you can achieve it really easy. So here it is. This is what I'm going to explain you now. Okay, so one of the most important things that you have to do in digital painting is to learn how to do texture without custom brushes. So I'm going to take this brush that I created at the beginning, you know which one is, and I'm going to achieve a texture using just my hand without any custom settings. So for the cupcake thing, we need to do kind of like this. I'm going to do a movement really big. Is this kind of movement kind of like random with the hand, but you're going to do it really little. What's going to happen is that you're going to get this kind of like holes in between and stuff like that. Then you're going to pass over it again and again. And it's important that you try to achieve this just by using your hand, because this is going to give you really the practice to become a great digital artist. Another thing that you can do is do differences on the pressure that you're applying to the brush. So you got few darker parts in some places and stuff like that. I'm going to do it here with a lighter color, but this is the same result. So this is basically what I'm doing on the cupcake part, in the cake part of the cupcake, not in the cream or the chocolate, but the cake part. And you can get the same result really easy. You just have to do this kind of motion with your hand. Because the important thing is when you're looking from far away, it looks like it has texture. And this is really easy to do. In some cases you're gonna need a custom brush or a alpha channel or something like that, a mask, to get the results, but it's really useful that you learn to do texture just with your motion of your hand. So if you're looking from far away, it looks like a different material, and it's just something that you do with your hand. Okay, so the thing with the reflections is that it actually helps if you imagine what kind of shape this the thing that you're going to do the reflections is. Like if you do like a mesh on top of it, imagine how the lines will bend, stuff like that. You can get a lot of good results from this technique. Because what we want is the reflection to look accurate as possible. If it doesn't look accurate, then it won't look like a reflection at all. So what we want is, maybe you can do a little study, kind of trying to understand what shape you have here. You can do it with the cherry too if you want to. The thing is that reflection follows the shape of the thing that is given the reflection on. And knowing this, what's going to happen is whatever you paint that is reflected on the surface, you gotta make that shape to look like it's bending on the surface. So you have this little mesh going on to understand how the shape bends and everything. Is going to be way easier to do your reflections. So for example, I'm going to do a little bit of coloring here. Let's take this color of the cream, and I'm going to put a spot of light here. Then what's going to happen is that that light is going to to fall to here, and then here on the bigger side it's going to open again. Then here is going to bend again, stuff like that, and here is going to open again. And because this part is horizontal, maybe you can do it like more open. Here you can have the little point, little tip. It also depends on how many colors you're using. Then what you can do is just bend it a little with the smudge tool here. Way to give it some detail is to do some tips, like little points here, but I'm going to explain that later on this tutorial. But that's a good way to understand the reflections. Okay, so here what I'm going to do is some reflections, and we need a soft background for the reflection first, as you can see what I'm doing here. Always remember to create new layers on these kind of steps to not mess things around. And what I'm going to do is with the hard brush, with the pen pressure, the one that has the pen pressure, you can apply some color, and then with the smudge tool. The smudge tool is with the letter R, and the icon is like a little finger. You can push the colors to get them look softer, and this is a great way to start doing the reflections. Then I'm using a more. I'm trying to keep it with big strokes. Because I don't want any detail at this point. I just want to get the overall feeling of the reflection, and you can concentrate on the detail at the end. Look how I blend two colors using the smudge tool. The smudge tool is really useful, and I'm using the smudge tool with a soft brush to get this result. It's really easy to do. So I'm going to the left part. Remember that this is reflections. This doesn't have to do too much with lighting. It's just the things that are around the cupcake reflects, and you have to imagine that there's stuff around like windows and stuff like that. Here I use a little of the Dodge tool to get more brightness in those colors, but it was experimenting, trying to get the feeling. Here I use a little bit of brown. And in the center I had another color that I took from a reference to get more the feeling of it. So this is what I can say on the reflections. So now that you have your image almost done, you only have to start working on the texture. Like here, for example, we have a light coming from the right, but it doesn't necessarily have to be white or it have to be brown. If you think of it, if you look at it, look at pictures of for reference, you can see that the colors are tons of variety of colors that you can use to get the feeling of the cake. And the reflections are more like purples, orange, stuff like that. Doesn't have to be the same color that you're already using. In that case, for the cream is different. Here in the center, I'm going to put a little bit of a specular reflection, and I did put some white because in the reference that I was looking, I had a little bit of white in there, so that's the color that I wanted. At the beginning it may not look like the result that you want, but you always have to kind of go with your gut. The thing that you think is the best option, it probably is. So don't waste time going back and stuff like that. If you don't like it, just try to repair it. If you feel better erasing the whole layer, well, do it. But anyway, it's going to be a learning experience, because then for the next moment that you do it, you're gonna know exactly what to do to achieve a better result. Here I put a little bit of more lightness with the letter O on the keyboard, which is the Dodge tool, and I just want it to look like really soft from the far. Here the same principle I told you about the reflections. I need it to be round. So what we're going to do is, using a soft brush, we're going to put a really light color, you can see in few seconds. I'm cleaning a bit here, cleaning the edge. Putting a little bit more of shadow because it's near to the chocolate, have to look kind of like a reflection. Okay, so here I'm going to use a soft brush and I'm going to erase the parts that I don't want, because I still want to look soft, but the kind of material of the cherry is really reflective, so the reflection have to look hard, even that they are soft, like on the center, they have to look really sharp, because it's a really reflective material. The more reflective it is, the material, the sharper the reflection is. And this is going to be kind of like our base, because this is actually not the final look of the cherry. This is like a base for the reflections. So in a few seconds you'll see the final look of it, which is more kind of like translucent, more coloring than this. This is too much like a, it makes me seem like a Christmas tree ball or something like that. It is not the look that I wanted for the cherry. I really wanted to look realistic and believable. So a cool trick that you can do to get more darkness is just to copy the layer and go to image and contrast and bring down the contrast. Then you copy the layer of the lighter and you erase where you want more shadow, as I'm doing here. So you can have a little bit more of shadow where you need it, and you don't have to be coloring again everything. You just took the colors that you already have, made them darker, and then start erasing where you think the shadow is going to be. This is a quick way to get the more shadow on your paintings. Now I'm using a more saturated color for the cream, because I realized that it was looking kind of fake, and what I was missing is that the colors should be a little bit reflective and the shadows should be a little bit more colorful, because of the reflected light, the bounce light and everything. And if you see it from the distance, it really does the look that of the material being soft and kind of like translucent a little bit, really light. And now what I'm doing is just putting a little bit more of detail on the cake part, because it needed to look kind of like the shape has to look a bit random and with a lot of bumps and stuff like that. The best way to do it is just take the light color and do kind of like a little mountains with the light that's coming from the sides, as you can see in here. Okay, so now I took a really red color and put it on top of the cherry, and of course that's in another layer. And then using a little bit of opacity on the layer, I took it down like, I don't know, 60-70%, and then the reflections, they have to be really sharp, as you can see what I'm doing right now. It's important that you do the steps that we did before, because it gives like there's something going on inside that you cannot really explain if you don't do the first steps that we did before. And that's how I got the look of the cherry. I was kind of worried because I thought I wasn't going to get it right. And if you can notice that now I'm using the really hard brush. This brush is mostly for details on the reflections because it's really hard. Now what I have to do is blend the cherry with the chocolate, which should be really soft. I'm going to do a dark reflection here. Really sharp reflection of dark, and then I'm going to do the soft pass between the cherry and the chocolate. That, in my opinion, is the best effect of the painting. Gave the look that is blending in there, you know, the chocolate with the cherry. Now what I'm doing is just taking the color that I already have in the palette and doing little reflections where the shape bends, and that gives the look of something more detailed. Even that is just lines, it gives a look that is more detailed and more refined image, which is what we really want to make it look like. It doesn't matter if it's not too detailed, but it has to look like it's detailed. And right there I just took the colors of the cream, the colors of the reflection that I already have, and giving these little bumps, these little lines everywhere, you get the feeling that it's more detailed than it is. It's a really quick way to make people think that your image has detail, because it looks like more sharpened than it was before. Here I also needed more lights. And the edge is really important. The edge of the reflection is really important because it also reflects a little bit more actually than in the center. And here I'm putting more brights in the reflection because I needed some. It needed some like source of light. Where is the light coming from? We need some bright spots in the reflection, and that's exactly what I was doing in there. So this is the detail part. This is the most fun part of the painting process, because now you have everything under control, and now you have to concentrate on the details, which is kind of like more relaxing. You are less worried because you already have all the colors that you wanted to have in the painting. Now you just have to concentrate on the details. Here I put a little bit of bright spots because I even that is soft, it had some really sharp edges in some places, and it's really reflective also. Here I'm trying to do like a soft pass on the shadow from the color that is bouncing. I got that look by using the same color but more saturated and lighter. Got the look of the cream. And here in the bottom I needed some dark spots to make it look more like broken, and the best way to do it was with the same hard brush, using a little bit of opacity on the brush, or you can do it directly with your hand. But I got the look of the cake by doing these dark spots. Then I put a little bit of light colors also, because you have to look really sharpened. That sharpened details make it look even more detailed than it actually is. Okay, so never give your painting like it's something finished. Once you do the last stroke, think of it like you have to do some post-production after. And right now what I'm doing is just using the Dodge tool, which is with the letter O on the keyboard. I added a little bit of brightness in few parts, and because I wanted to look more contrast and light in few parts. And now what I'm doing is just adding a little shadow. But what I'm trying to explain here is that once you do the final stroke, never took as it is your final stroke. Just take a few seconds to see the image and think of it like, okay, what's missing here? What do I need to do to make it look even better than what it is now? And that's it. Well, thank you very much guys for your attention in this tutorial. Really hope you like it, and please take a few seconds to listen to what I'm going to show you next.
Hey guys, what's up? I know how important to you is to paint the skin, so I made this little guide of about 20 pages that it comes with all the skin tones, it comes with all the line arts, it comes with all the textures that I made for these tutorials, and it comes with 2 videos, one about how to paint female skin and another one of how to paint male skin. So if you want to support this channel, this is the best way to do it. There's a link in the description. This is the preferred way for me because I feel like I give you something back for your donation. So if you want to get this material, there is a link in the description. The only thing that when you done the payment, you will have to wait for a few minutes for me to give you the link to your email personally, because I write you personally to give you the link. Because I have to check on the PayPal account for the email or where the payment is done, so I will personally send you a link to your email. So if I take a little, don't freak out, it's totally normal. I have never failed to deliver one of these materials. So thank you very much. If you are interested in getting this material, just use the link in the description. And thank you very much for your support. I really appreciate it, and you're helping me to create more content for the channel. Thank you very much.